Welcome to the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. If you know, we always start right at 4, so thank you so much for your patience in our delay with so many presentations going on throughout the building. And with that, Secretary, can you please call the roll?
Assembly Member Cole.
Here.
Dickman.
Here.
Edgeworth. Gonzalez. Hibbets.
Here.
Howdegi. Miller.
Here.
Monroe Moreno. Moore.
Here.
Nadeem.
Present.
Chair Mosca.
And I am here. Thank you so much. And please mark Assembly Members Monroe Moreno, Hadigi, and Gonzalez present as they arrive. So welcome to our audience in Carson City, those joining by video conference in Las Vegas, and those listening over the internet. Some housekeeping announcements. Please silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state and spell your name and any affiliation for the record. There are hard copies of meeting materials available for members of the public. Members of the public may also access electronic copies of the materials on the Nevada Legislature's website. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes. In addition, the public may submit written testimony to the committee up to 24 hours after the meeting. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we may not agree with one another's positions. And finally, members will be viewing items on their laptops, so please don't view this as a sign of disrespect. We will be going in order today, so I will open the hearing on Senate Bill 414. This measure revises provisions relating to public office, and we are excited to have Senator Scheibel here today presenting SB 414, and you may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me, Assembly Member Chair Mosca and members of the Legislative Operations and Elections Committee. My name, of course, is Melanie Scheibel. I am the State Senator for District 9 in Southwest Las Vegas. And this afternoon, I'm pleased to present SB 414 to you. SB 414, broadly, has two main purposes. The first object of SB 414 is to ensure that inaugural committees are making disclosures the same way that political action committees and candidates' campaign accounts or candidates' campaigns have to make disclosures regarding their finances. Under current law, an individual candidate, like all of us were at one time and maybe again, has to make a disclosure about the fundraising that they do, the monies that they receive, and the monies that they expend. And so those forms are filled out, of course, through the Secretary of State. We've all done both the financial disclosure as well as the quarterly reports or the annual reports, depending on the year. We also have to do the same thing for political action committees. There is one committee that does not have to do that, and those are inaugural committees. Inaugural committees are generally formed in that in-between time after a candidate has been elected to public office, but before they actually begin their office. Anybody who creates an inaugural committee is exempt, not even exempt, there's just no law regarding whether or not they have to report the money that they raise. Traditionally, inaugural committees were set up to fundraise for inaugural balls, for celebrations, to cover the expenses with moving and things like moving offices and things like that. But in more recent years, inaugural committees have also been utilized for political action. Inaugural committees have started running campaign ads. They have started to make expenditures to other candidates, and the law does not prohibit this. And so SB 414 also does not prohibit an inaugural committee from utilizing money in those ways. It does, however, require them to disclose that by filling out the same campaign finance reports that we all fill out as candidates, or that a political action committee or a PAC would have to fill out. An inaugural committee would be required to fill out those same reports and provide voters with information about where they receive their contributions and how they spend them. The second aim of SB 414 is to provide additional transparency when it comes to conflicts of interest and the financial interests of candidates for office and people who are elected. SB 414 adds an additional provision to the existing financial disclosure laws, which currently state that whenever a candidate or elected official owns more than 1% of a company, they must disclose the interest in that company to say whether it is 1% or if they own stocks in an amount that is equal to or greater than a $5,000 value. The reason for this is to bring parity to our disclosure laws. There are many, many ways now that an individual can have a very substantial investment in a large corporation, into the amounts of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars worth of stock in a company that still doesn't rise to the level of constituting 1% of that corporation. By requiring the disclosure, whether it is the 1% interest in the corporation or it is greater than $5,000, we now capture both of these situations, whether somebody is a complete owner of a small family-owned business that's only worth $200,000 total, or somebody has tens of thousands of dollars of stock in a corporation but still doesn't meet that threshold. They would now have to disclose that that interest in the stock, or sorry, that interest in the company. I'm happy to walk through the bill if you'd like me to do that now. Okay, excellent. So we start, and this bill has not had any amendments, so we're looking at the bill as introduced. Sorry, I'm just pulling it up myself. And Section 1, I kind of presented in reverse order. Section 1 relates to those disclosures on interests in companies, and the meat of the bill is in subsection 7, which can be found on page 3, and it simply breaks out those two different possibilities into two sections. We have subsection A on line 34 saying that if the total amount of the stock represents more than 1% of the business, that must be disclosed, or subsection B, if the value is more than $5,000, that must be disclosed. Section 3 through 5 is where we get into the inaugural committee requirements. Subsection 3 defines who would be subject to these rules. It is all 6 of the constitutional officers, all 6 statewide elected officers here in the state of Nevada. Section 4 defines inaugural committee. And Section 5 outlines those reporting requirements, which, as I previously indicated, are the same as the reporting requirements for a candidate for office or a political action committee. Subsection 6 further expands on those requirements in subsection 5, explaining the timing for submitting the report of the inaugural committee, which is no later than the 90th day following the first day of the regular session of the legislature, immediately following their inauguration. And subsection 7 and 8 make conforming changes in other sections of the law, as well as sections 9 and 10 and 11. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? We'll start with Assemblymember Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick one about who does this apply to, the stock declarations? Is it to candidates or inaugural committees? Is it
Melanie
all?
Scheibel, for the record, sorry, it would not be for the inaugural committee. It would be for the candidate for office who has to file a financial disclosure.
So this would be a spot added to the financial disclosure statement?
That would, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Assemblymember Miller.
Thank you so much, Chair, for the question, and thank you for bringing this forward. I have a very nuanced question. So I appreciate, because I believe all of us in this room believe that we see things happen in Congress when it comes to stocks and stuff like that, that we agree shouldn't be happening. So I appreciate here the 1% in the stocks that someone would have to claim it. But there's situations where so what about like mutual funds? And you may have a mutual fund bucket and there's hundreds of different companies and this and that in there. And a lot of people don't necessarily always dig into those mutual fund kind of agreements, right? And so I know we often talk about people willingly and woefully doing something, but I know, some of us, especially now, aren't even opening those envelopes, right? So could there be a situation where someone through mutual funds actually did have a certain percentage, not realizing it, not knowing it, maybe not even knowing they were part of that company? I didn't even know this, that I was contributing to this country. Is it, please follow where I'm trying to go and just jump in.
Gladly, yes.
Thank you.
Melanie Scheibel for the record, and this question came up on the Senate side as well, and I think our legal counsel agreed on that side that a disclosure of the nature of the mutual fund, if it's a Fidelity mutual fund or through Vanguard, and I know they have the acronyms that explain that it is the type of mutual fund that it is, or the types of stocks that it buys, sells, and trades, especially one that is diversified, where you don't have more than like 10% or 12% of your mutual funds in any one particular stock. The intent is that a disclosure simply of those mutual fund investments would be sufficient to meet the requirements of the bill.
Follow-up, Chair? Yes. What would trigger that? Like, how would they know, oh, even though I may not understand exactly but I think I need to put this from my mutual fund, that the disclosure of my mutual fund, what would trigger that?
Melanie Scheibel for the record, it would be if the investment in any one particular company was over $5,000. And there is nothing that prohibits a candidate or officer from making the disclosure even if they don't reach that minimum threshold. So the purpose is for people who have large investment portfolios that they are making a generalized disclosure of those investments. And it would be the responsibility of the candidate to have a basic understanding of where they invest their money and whether they're likely to have $5,000 of stock in one particular place.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for that question. Members, any other questions? Okay, seeing no other questions, we will now go to testimony. So I will open up testimony in support of SB 414. Each person has 2 minutes to provide testimony. Members of the public may provide testimony over the phone by calling 888-475-4499 and entering the meeting ID 820-1671-2828. So we'll start here in Carson City. And seeing none, as well as seeing an empty room in Las Vegas, AVH, we will go to the phone lines for support of SB 414.
To testify in support for Senate Bill 414, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, the public lines are open and working. We have no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you. We will now hear testimony in opposition to SB 414. Anyone here in Carson City, please fill the tables, or the chairs, and you may begin when you're ready. Don't forget to state and spell your name for the record, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Janine Hansen. I'm the state chairman of the Independent American Party. Every time we add additional reporting, we lose more and more people who are willing to run for office. Every time we have additional reporting, it doesn't improve our elections. But one thing that it does is that it suppresses a lot of candidates. Let me give you my personal story. When I ran for state senate, I had a lot of people come to me from a different party and say that they wanted to support me in my race because they liked me better than the candidate in the other party. But they couldn't give me more than $100 because it would be reported to the Secretary of State, and then they would be persecuted by their own party, and they may not even be able to participate there. So these reporting requirements that we have are used to suppress minor parties like mine, and they are also used to suppress people who are challengers to those that have been anointed by their own parties. And that's precisely what they're used for. And so it controls who can run for office by the powers that be determine who can run. And so that's my basic concern, not just with this bill, but with all the additional reporting we constantly have. You know, there's a lot of dark money now that's available for campaigns, and campaign finance laws don't really address that. And a lot of things are going on in the campaign world that aren't reported. But those who are trying to obey the rules, they're the ones that can possibly get into trouble. I don't think it makes our elections more honest or really more transparent to the public in so many ways, because there's so many things going on we don't know about. And I would say, the more, as I started in the beginning, the more reporting, the more requirements, the fewer there are people who are willing to put their lives on the line and bother with all of these things. And it's easy if you have a campaign staff and you've got a treasurer who is an accountant, and they can fill out all the reports for you. But if you're just one little candidate running in one little race and you don't have a big staff, it becomes very onerous to fill out all these reports so many times in a year. And so people just say, I'm not willing to do it. I've had to help a lot of my candidates and have others help them just in order to be able to get the reports filled out. I don't think it improves our elections. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else here in Carson City? Seeing none and still seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH will open up the phone lines for opposition to SB 414.
Testify in opposition to Senate Bill 414, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in opposition, please press star 9.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. I'm back. It's Kimberly Fergus, Fergus. I got a ditto Ms. Hanson for her testimony. It was really strong. However, I strongly oppose SB 4142. This bill goes beyond transparency. It veers into privacy invasion, selective enforcement, and unnecessary bureaucracy. Number one, it expands financial disclosures to include household members, investments over $5,000.
Caller, I think we lost you. AVH, do we still have a caller?
What? Can you hear me?
Oh, go ahead. Yes, keep going.
Are you there?
Yes, keep going.
Oh, God. I probably...
We just didn't hear like the last 10 seconds, so you could keep going.
Inaugural committees. This creates new vague reporting rules that can be weaponized politically. It even applies before someone officially takes office, completely unnecessary. Number three, it duplicates federal law. Foreign contributions to campaigns are already illegal. Including that here is political theater, not policy. And four, it deters good people from running. The reporting of every minor trip or gift creates a chilling effect and opens the door for nitpicking and abuse. Nevada already has strong financial disclosure laws. This bill adds confusion, not accountability, and I do urge you to vote no on SB 414. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. AVH, next caller, please.
Good afternoon, Oscar Williams, OSCAR, WILLIAMS. I'm opposed to SB 414 because it's just a lot more red tape that will ultimately deter potential candidates from running. I mean, I ran for school board district E, and just the quarterly C&E reports was difficult to keep up on, frankly, and I had a very low activity account. This just more red tape, and ultimately that hurts democracy. And for this reason, I'm opposed. I hope that you will oppose it as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. AVH, next caller.
Good afternoon. My name is Lynn Chapman, Lynnc Capman, and I'm State Vice President of Nevada Families for Freedom. And we oppose this bill. I did check on the opinions, and it was 100% in opposition to this bill. It's burdensome for people to have to continually, they're trying to campaign for office, and they have to continually fill out paperwork, and especially this type of paperwork talking about people in your household and how much money they make and where your stocks and bonds and this and that. I have a financial guy. He knows more about what I've got than I do. But not only that, I've spoken with people about running for office, and people don't want to because of all this campaign finance reporting. It's overwhelming, and I think it takes away people's wanting to participate in government because it's burdensome. So please vote no on this bill. It's not going to add anything to make things better. So please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Chair, we have no more callers for opposition at this time.
Okay, thank you. With that, we will move to neutral testimony to Senate Bill 414. Anyone here for neutral? Carson City, seeing none, and no one in Las Vegas. AVH, open the phone lines for neutral testimony.
To testify in neutral to Senate Bill 414, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'll invite Senator Scheibel up for closing remarks.
Hello again. I'm Senator Scheibel from Senate District 9 in Southwest Las Vegas. Just want to thank you all for your time. And I'm happy to answer any other questions offline that may have come up since you heard this bill 5 minutes ago. Thank you.
And thank you for that. We'll now close the hearing on SB 414. With that, I will now open the hearing on Senate Joint Resolution 1. This measure urges Congress to enact legislation allowing certain eligible surviving spouses of veterans to receive an amount equal to the military retirement pay of the veteran after the veteran's death. We have Senator Krasner presenting SJR 1 here today with some co-presenters, and you may begin when you are ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and members of the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. I am Senator Lisa Krasner, proudly representing State Senate District 16, and I appreciate the opportunity. Some background information. As SJR 1 states, military retirement pay ends with the death of the retiree. However, there is a specific program called the Survivor Benefit Plan currently, in which a veteran can enroll that would allow their surviving spouse to receive a portion of the service member's retirement pay as an annuity. In exchange, the veteran receives reduced retirement pay during their lifetime. In addition, their surviving spouse annuity currently is capped at a maximum of 55% of the deceased service member's monthly retirement pay for life. Here are some statistics for the 2022-2023 fiscal year from the Department of Defense. There are over 30,000 military retirees living in Nevada. There are over 3,700 surviving spouses in Nevada receiving the annuity under the SPB program. Nationally, the average base pay is $2,900 a month for the surviving spouse, in the program, including both officers and enlisted personnel. A surviving spouse would only receive up to 55% of that $2,900, so roughly $1,600 a month. According to the Nonpartisan Congressional Research Service, only 69% of military retirees are signed up in the program. Congress is aware of the inadequacy of this benefit, and over the past several decades, Congress has considered whether the SBP program provides enough financial stability and resources for the surviving spouse. The system itself is somewhat complex, with some calculations based upon whether a veteran enrolled in the program, the base pay computations, and other federal death benefit programs. Various sessions of Congress have considered proposals to, number one, increase or remove the capped amount for the surviving spouse. Number two, remove the service member's retirement pay offset. Number three, provide an automatic continuation of the retirement pay for the surviving spouse versus forcing the service member to pre-enroll in the SBP program upon retirement. And number four, this resolution is designed to add our voice, the voice of Nevadans and the Nevada Legislature, to those calling for a simplified system of providing the surviving spouse with the service member's pension in an adequate amount and without the added complication of pre-enrolling in a plan. On a personal note, this bill came from the State of Nevada Department of Veterans Services has an annual symposium, one in the north, one in the south, where veterans, male and female, all get together and talk about what things are important to them. And one fellow who is a veteran, his name was Frank, mentioned this to me. And he said what happens is the service member and their spouse, they move around from country to country, and the spouse follows the other spouse, of course, to be their support. But let's just say the veteran is a male and the spouse is a female. She doesn't have time to cultivate her own career because she's moving around with her husband. And so when he dies, she doesn't have a career of her own. She hasn't laid any foundation for a career. Her husband is now dead, who was the provider for the household. And so she's living off pretty much nothing. And so it's a recurring problem for the veteran's spouse. Of course, it could be it could be male, female, two females, two males, whatever, but that was the gist of the concern, and that's why I wanted to bring this bill. My co-presenters would also like to make some statements. Thank you, Chair Mosca.
Good afternoon. It's great to see the committee this afternoon. Chair Mosca and members of the Assembly Legislative Operations and Election Committee. I'm Fred Wagar, F-R-E-D-W-A-G-A-R, and I represent the Nevada Department of Veterans of Foreign Wars and the Department of Disabled American Veterans. And I'd like to, first of all, thank Senator Krasner, and I understand Senator Stone is now a co-sponsor, and bringing this Senate Joint Resolution number 1 forward. As my wife did throughout my military career, these spouses make significant sacrifices. She just mentioned all the moving and never getting established in their own way. They endure long periods of separation when we deployed, relocating frequently, and managing households single-handedly, all while the loved ones, often serve in perilous and demanding conditions. Upon the passing of a military veteran, their devoted spouse faced financial insecurity due to limitations on the benefits they received. As she mentioned, currently, military spouses only receive 55% of the veteran's benefits, and only if the veteran signed up for survivor benefit plan. at the time of their military retirement. I know this because I had to sign up, and then you actually have to get your spouse's permission if they don't want to sign up with that. So awarding military spouses 100% of retired military benefits upon the veteran's death is a recognition of the spouse's invaluable contribution and sacrifices. It would ensure they can continue to live with dignity and security. Such policy would provide assurance that the nation stands by them in their time of loss, honoring their commitment and resilience. It is both a moral and practical imperative to ensure that military spouses receive 100% of military retired benefits upon the veteran's death. The nation's gratitude should extend beyond the veteran and encompass the family that supports them, ensuring their well-being in every phase of life. In passing SJR 1, Nevada would be urging Congress to enact legislation allowing the surviving spouse of a veteran to receive the military retirement pay of the veteran after the veteran's death, and to ensure the spouse has at least some method of surviving financially. Thank you for allowing me the time to address this issue on behalf of the members and dependents of Veterans of Foreign Wars and disabled American veterans. And thank you again to Senator Krasner for bringing this bill forward. Thank you.
Chair and committee members, for the record, my name is Andrew LaPilbut. I'm the state chairman of the United Veterans Legislative Council for Nevada, representing the nearly 250,000 veterans in our state, which includes the VFW, the DAV, and all the various groups. This item, and the Senator Krasner covered it, every other year we bring all these veterans together from around the state. We typically do it in the north, and we do it in the south in Vegas. And some of you I've seen at those meetings, as a matter of fact, over the years, and we appreciate your involvement. It is where we, every other year, develop what the veterans community wants us to work on with you, with all of you. And that's where we get the priorities from all the veterans in the state. This particular item, actually, there were 69 state items on our last session, the last symposium year, last year. Of those 69, the 18th item in priority was this subject. All right, supporting the spouses, be it man or woman, whoever it is, the spouse of the other partner. And don't forget, we have a lot more women in the military now than we did in my day. It was back to 1-2%, and it's somewhere between 16 and 23%. Somebody told me nationally it's approaching 19%, which is a significant end. So the senator's right, it's the spouse. And this is a key item. It was an important priority by all the veterans in the state. And I think you were there, Chair, when we did this one. So that, anyway, that's the United Veterans Legislative Council. We highly recommend that you endorse this and sign off on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Mosca and committee members, for allowing me to present SGR 1. The surviving spouse of a person who has served our country has already made incredible sacrifices in their support role. I hope you'll support Senate Joint Resolution 1, and I am happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we do have some questions, so we'll start with Assembly Member Moore.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your presentation, and thank you for your service to our country. I do have a clarifying question. I know that we're urging Congress to pass a bill to allow for the surviving spouses to receive 100% of the retiree's pay. Now, would it be for only those that sign up for the SVP benefit, or would it be across the board?
State Senator Lisa Krasner, representing Senate District 16. It's on. There was an amendment, and I don't know if you can see that. Senator Daley worked with me on an amendment that says they would have to sign up for it.
Okay, thank you. Good question. Members, any other questions? Assemblymember Dignan.
Thanks, Chair. Not a question, really just a comment. I think it's so sweet that that's such a high priority for you to be concerned about who's left behind. So, thank you.
And I'll comment as chair of this committee too, as a military spouse who we just figured this out recently since my husband is doing all of his out processing paperwork and will be done on the 23rd of this month. So I appreciate this resolution. Thank you. And so with that, we will open testimony for support in SJR 1. If you are here in Carson City to testify in support, you may fill the chairs. Don't forget to state and spell your name for the record, and you will have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Mark Volashin for the record. My name is spelled M-A-R-K, last name W-L-A-S-C-H-I-N. I do want to clarify, I am testifying on SJR 1 as an individual and not representing any agency. I'm testifying in support of SJR 1 as a retired Marine officer whose wife experienced many of the challenges you just heard about. I enlisted in the Marine Corps in '98, met my future wife after a few years on active duty, and we were married in July of 2005. By that November, just 5 months later, I was deployed to Fallujah for the first time, of 2 times. Over the first 14 years of our marriage, we had 3 boys, moved 8 times, lived in Japan for 4 years, and ultimately chose Northern Nevada as our home after my military retirement. I retired at the rank of major with just over 20 years of service. So first, I want to say ditto regarding the excellent testimony that you've already heard about the merits of the resolution. There is one additional consideration worth mentioning, though, specifically that there's an unfortunate shortened life expectancy for many veterans, particularly retirees with multiple deployments. While many Vietnam veterans had increased rates of cancer due to exposure to Agent Orange, veterans of my generation have a similar concern from exposure to burn pits. I've unfortunately already lost friends and colleagues to brain and lung cancers that were tied to their exposure to those burn pits, and myself, I'm also on burn pit registries. These increased risks and shortened life expectancies highlight the importance of the resolution and the need to act to help ensure that our spouses do not lose those retiree pensions if their loved ones passes. Please support SJR 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no others in Carson City and still not seeing anyone in Las Vegas, AVH will open the phone lines for support of SJR 1.
To testify in support for SJR 1, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in support, please press star 9.
Good afternoon. My name is Lynn Chapman, L-Y-N-N-C-H-A-P-M-A-N, and I'm a 50-year member of the American Legion Auxiliary. And, we should be encouraging and helping our military families. They sacrifice a lot, and most people don't realize how much. My dad, after my mom died, married somebody that we knew. Her husband had passed away as well. They were World War II people. And I know that she didn't even make $1,600 a month. And after her husband died, and she was just reliving on almost nothing. She followed her husband all around the world, raising 2 kids. She couldn't really have a career too easily because they kept moving around. So she didn't really get a lot of money for Social Security because, she'd start a job somewhere and then they'd have to pack up and move and go another place to another country. It was very difficult. And I see this bill as something that would really help families and especially the surviving spouse. She unfortunately passed away before my dad, but I always wondered what would have happened if my dad had passed away first, because she wouldn't have gotten anything from him. She would have just been destitute. I think it's terrible that we treat the military families like we do. It's terrible. So please think about SJR 1 and getting this passed. We really need to have this done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. AVH, next caller.
Caller with the
I
last
believe
three
I'm up.
digits. You may begin.
Good afternoon, the chair and the committee members. My name is John Strahan, John Strahan. I'm a retired Lieutenant Colonel, United States Army. I'm offering my full support to this SJR1. I'm obviously not a surviving spouse, but I have spent over 3 decades witnessing the incredible sacrifices made by not only those in uniform, but by the spouses and the families who, in most cases, serve alongside us. And I'm not saying serve on the ground alongside us, but they're managing the household, managing the children, managing the family and the life behind while we go off and serve the country. I have personally served 4 tours, 1 in Bosnia in the initial peacekeeping force, 2 tours in Iraq to include the initial invasion, and 1 tour in Afghanistan. So I have seen the military and military families and the soldiers in my command struggle and deal with family issues and family problems, and knowing that they have a family in the back to take care of makes the soldiers, knowing that their family is taken care of, makes the soldiers focus more on the mission and not having to worry. And the biggest worry, of course, that all of my soldiers express is what happens if they get killed while overseas or in any other capacity serving in the military. Wondering about their retirement pay later on when they retire and pass, as we all will at some point. The military retirement pay, it's earned through years of service. It's not a handout, and terminating the benefits ignores the shared burden carried by the families. So I believe SJ1 honors that truth, and it asks Congress to do the same. And I think providing this retirement pay to surviving spouses, again, it's not a handout, it's a rightful recognition of service. And I would urge our state legislators to stand behind this resolution and send a powerful message to Congress that military families and their sacrifice is not forgotten. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next caller.
Hello, Oscar Williams again, last name Williams. I support this. If you want to attract the best and the brightest, you need to treat them like they're the best, and that is taking care of them and their families so that they can focus on defending the country. And so I support this, and this is going in the right direction. Thank you. I hope it goes forward.
Thank you. ABH, next caller.
Chair, we have no more callers for support at this time.
Thank you. With that, we will now hear testimony in opposition to SJR1. If you are here in Carson City, seeing none, and still seeing none in Las Vegas, we will open up opposition to SJR1 on the phone lines, please, AVH.
Chair, we have no callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. And with that, we will move to neutral testimony for SJR1. Seeing no one in Carson City or Las Vegas, AVH will go back to you to the phone lines, neutral SJR1.
Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'll invite Senator Krasner up to make any closing remarks. And she is waiving them. Well, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for your service. And with that, I will close the hearing on SJR1. I will now open the hearing on Senate Joint Resolution 9. This measure urges the Citizen Stamp Advisory Committee and the Postmaster General of the United States Postal Service for the creation of a postage stamp commemorating John Snowshoe Thompson. We have Senator Titus and some co-presenters presenting SJR9 today, and you may start when you're ready.
Well, first and foremost, thank you very much to the committee for hearing our bill or resolution. It is very much appreciated. So good afternoon, Chair Mosca and members of the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. My name is Robin Titus, and I represent Senate District 17, which encompasses all of Douglas County, Lyon County, Mineral County, Esmeralda County, Churchill County and part of Nye, specifically Tonopah. So I tell folks I represent the western slope of Nevada. Thank you again for the opportunity to present to you today. Here at the table with me is Catherine Villasenor, my intern, who is a junior at the University of Nevada, Reno, and Steve McMartin Wells, who is a member of the Snowshoe Thompson chapter of E. Clampus Vitus. At this time, I will hand over the presentation to Ms. Villasenor.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and members of the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. My name is Catherine Villasenor for the record. Snowshoe Thompson was born in Norway in 1827, and when he was 10 years old, his family emigrated to America. Thompson headed west towards California, pursuing the opportunities of the gold rush, but fortunately for many, he would be steered in a different direction. Thompson answered a call for help in the Sacramento Union newspaper for someone to carry the mail from Placerville, California to what is now Genoa, Nevada. The article said, "People lost to the world. Uncle Sam needs a mail carrier," explaining how the heavy mountain snows had cut off communication with people east of the Sierras. The postmaster in Placerville, California gave Thompson the job. However, he could not promise any pay to him because the original carrier had disappeared, rendering him unavailable to sign the contract over to Thompson. Regardless, Thompson was undeterred by the lack of pay, motivated by greater incentives instead. He completed his first trip across the Sierras in January 1856, after crafting his own skis based off of his childhood memories of Norwegian winter travel equipment. His skis were made from oak, were 10 feet long, and weighed 25 pounds, similar to those which are in front of you today. Thompson's deliveries were not just impressive, they were historic. On one trip in particular, he helped haul parts of a printing press to Genoa, which produced the first issue of the Territorial Enterprise in 1858. The newspaper would eventually relocate to Virginia City and become famous through the work of Mark Twain. Thompson often traveled over 20 to 50 feet deep snow on a 90-mile trek. Thompson generally needed 3 days to travel to Genoa and 2 to return to Placerville. He made this mail run at least twice a month every winter for 20 years, carrying heavy backpacks weighing up to 100 pounds. Thompson was dedicated to delivering vital supplies. Historians believe that he did not even carry a blanket for himself, instead opting to save room for vital packages instead. Hailed as a hero, Thompson also rescued many travelers from the deep snow on his treks across the Sierras, oftentimes adding significant mileage and days to these trips. In 1866, Snowshoe Thompson homesteaded land near Minden, Nevada, in Diamond Valley on the California side, and married a woman from Genoa named Agnes Singleton. Ironically, the United States government never paid him for his years of exceptional service. He had even tried to petition Congress, however, this went without success. He had traveled to Washington, D.C. to even plead his case in person, but the government ultimately denied his claim. Thompson died in 1876 of appendicitis complicated by pneumonia, and after a very well-attended funeral, he was buried in the historic Genoa Cemetery. He is buried alongside his son, who died only a couple years after Thompson, and both graves are memorialized. In his memory, songs were written, monuments created, and statues erected, including Genoa's famous bronze statue. The creation of a postage stamp in Snowshoe Thompson's honor would serve as poetic justice for the decades of his dedicated and unpaid work for both territorial Nevada and the United States Postal Service. Looking into the resolution itself, the whereas clause provides a good description of John Snowshoe Thompson's background and the challenges he faced and overcame in delivering the mail every winter between 1856 and 1876. The measure also acknowledges his heroism in aiding individuals caught in the snow. The final whereas clause states that April 30th, 2027, which is the 200th year anniversary of his birthday, concluding that issuing a commemorative stamp in his honor would be most fitting for the occasion. Lastly, the resolve clause notes that the legislature's support for the stamp, urging the Citizen Stamp Advisory Council and the Postmaster General of the United States would approve this proposal.
Madam Leader, sorry, I can't get away from that, sorry. Madam Chair, I would like to introduce now, if I might, a member of the E. Clampus Vitus Snowshoe Thompson chapter that can give you a little history on who and what the E. Clampus Vitus are.
Stephen McMartin Wills, and I'm with the Ancient Honorable Order of E. Clampus Vitus. I'm with the chapter Snowshoe Thompson, and what Snowshoe Thompson means to me is he was there to look out for anyone in California and Nevada to make sure that medicine was brought over, mail that needed to get delivered. He was, he did whatever he could do. And I just think that it would be great if Snowshoe and his memory could be on the end of an envelope and they could be mailed around the world or the country, California, Nevada, no matter where it's going. I just think that'd be the way to honor his legacy and what he did for, Genoa and California. But thank you.
Madam Chair, if I might, I know it may not be Senator Titus for the record. It's not always precedent that you get some visual aids in these presentations. But however, we have some things for you that I'm sure you've not seen before. So if I might have the liberty of showing you the skis that my family made and I was involved in making, and this would Max show the style of what he did. And then we were going to play a song for you. Can we get that up there? So first and foremost, my family made these. I skied on these out of Johnsville in the Hope Valley. These are a duplicate of what exactly, so they have Snowshoe Thompson days. And I was the only Nevadan doing it, so proudly we engraved the Nevada on the skis. Literally, you carry these on your shoulders. I would have a work boot on, you put your toe in there, you strap them down, and you plant your heel in there, and it's more like a toboggan than a ski. So you have to just shift your weight. It's not like telemarking, if you've ever done cross-country skis, getting down on your knees. We were never that good. And so there's a chip on them because I did crash a few times in these things, but they're super fun, and this is what that man created, so we still have these races. Also, to get a little picture of what he might look like, if I might, Madam Chair, if you ever collect decanters, and whiskey is something they like to drink, and so this Snowshoe top, there were only about 400 of these made. This is unopened, you're not allowed to touch this, and so it's still full, but this is what we would guess Snowshoe Thompson would look like, and it was in memory of John Snowshoe Thompson. So now, if you just humor me just for a moment, we're going to play Johnny Horton. You're all on this thing too young to remember who Johnny Horton was, but Johnny Horton sang ballads about the Old West, and so bear with us. We're going to play what Johnny Horton thought about Snowshoe Thompson. Thank you.
In 1855 in old California, a man was a-looking in the paper one day. Uncle Sam needs a postman to carry the mail through the high Sierra Mountains over God-forsaken trails. Snowshoe Thompson told him, he swore he was the man. I'll get through them mountains if anybody can. He took a pair of snowshoes, he took a pair of skis, and lit out through the mountains where a normal man would freeze. He was cautious as a mountain cat, fleet as a deer, tough as a grizzly bear, he knew no fear. He lived a life of danger, bringing mountain people news, 'cause Snowshoe Thompson packed the mail on through.
With that, Madam Chair, we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. Members, do we have any questions? Assemblymember Cole.
So thank you for doing this. I think this is actually really cool, maybe one of the coolest bills I've heard. Is there a way to designate what postage stamp it would be, like a forever stamp and something that everybody would use as opposed to like a 1 cent extra stamp or something like that?
Thank you, Senator Titus, for the record. A great question. I did a lot of research when they reached out to me about bringing forward this commemorative stamp and the whole process of the Citizen Stamp Advisory Committee. And what we're doing is hoping that they'll do a commemorative stamp, and then they'll decide whether it'll be we have those forever stamps now as opposed to the point, and I think that's where they're going. It's evolved. It's
Assemblymember Nadine.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you so much, Senator. That is so interesting and so motivating. So while I was listening to it, it was like, it was so motivating. So I just want to ask you that, is there any storybook written on the life of Mr. Thompson? Because it is so inspiring also.
I have not seen, do you have books on it?
We have books on him, yeah.
Identify yourself.
Stephen McMartin Wills. Yes, we do have books on it when we go out, and my buddy behind me, Bryce, is member of the Snowshoe Thompson Committee. We have literature over and over on it, so we didn't bring any with us, but
That's
Share this
wonderful.
with your
Yeah.
group.
we have pamphlet,
Thank you,
and then
thank
we
you,
also
that's
carry a book about Snowshoe Thompson. It's got his whole life history in it.
Would love to read it sometime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I do a follow-up to that question? So the handout I just had, we did have a bunch of handouts, and I apologize for not having them here today. But the Genoa, is it Genoa Historical Society, or is it Douglas County?
So Genoa Historical.
So if you don't know where Genoa is in Douglas County. It's against the mountains if you go south on the main street here. And there'll be a sign if you're heading up to Tahoe or so, there's an Old Town Genoa there. And there is a historical society in Snowshoe Thompson. They have a room there just for Snowshoe Thompson.
And then we have our last question. We'll go back to Assemblymember Cole.
I was just going to make a suggestion to talk to Michelle in the gift shop that maybe they could actually sell those books.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we will go on to testimony. So you can sit back, and we'll start with testimony in support of SJR 9. If anyone is here in Carson City to testify in support, don't forget to state and spell your name for the record, and you will have 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Bryce Lister, Lister. I'm a member of Snowshoe Thompson, as well as the Friends of Snowshoe Thompson of Genoa. We're here in support for the bill. We think it's such an amazing opportunity for everybody to, learn a little bit of history. There are, to answer the question about the books, there are quite a few books that are locally written by an author, Frank Korstrich, I do believe his name is. I probably butchered the last name. But the more information we can get out, the more stories we can tell, the more we can honor his legacy, I think better off everybody will just to learn a little bit more of the history of him. And there are quite a few other organizations out there, the Daughters of Norway, the Sons of Norway, and a few other skiing groups. A lot of the resorts around here use his likeness, and so just here in support of the bill.
Thank you so much. Okay, we appreciate it. And seeing no one else in Carson City or Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone lines AVH for support of SJR 9.
If you would like to testify in support of SJR 9, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Oscar Williams again. I'm quite familiar with the legend of Snowshoe Thompson. You know, he is a hero and a legend in Norway. There's been numerous documentaries and TV shows and things of interest regarding Snowshoe Thompson. And I didn't realize the 200th birthday is coming up. That's a huge event. We're going to get international attention with this. And in terms of film, TV production, and general cultural historic tourism from Northwest Nevada, this is great. I love it. And so I hope you all support it. And let's get some great stamps out there. And let's look forward to that celebration. I hope that you will all come up to Northwest Nevada for that celebration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. AVH, next caller.
Chair, there are no other callers to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. We will now move to opposition to SJR 9. Seeing no one in Carson City and seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH will open up the phone lines for opposition of SJR 9.
The public line is open and working. There are no other callers to testify in opposition at this time.
And thank you. With that, we will move on to neutral. If anyone is here in Carson City, for neutral, seeing no one and seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH will open the phone line for neutral to SJR 9.
The public line is open and working. There are no other callers to testify at this time.
Thank you. I now invite Senator Titus up for closing remarks.
Senator Titus, for the record. Chair Mosca and the committee, thank you for tolerating my props. I know that doesn't usually happen in these committee hearings, but I think the take home I want to make is this gentleman carried the mail for 20 years and never got paid. And on his 200th birthday, it would be nice to acknowledge that and at least give him a stamp. So hopefully you will support this measure. I appreciate your tolerance, and I believe that we can have good history and good fun in this building. So thank you very much all for hearing this bill.
Thank you, Chair.
I appreciate, the question was whether Randy Thompson, who's pretty well known in this building, he had the one son that died, and I don't know that he had any other children. So but I would encourage you, if you want to learn a little bit more about the history of this region, that Genoa Museum and the Historical Society is pretty amazing. So thank you all. It's got the oldest bar also in the state of Nevada. It's in Genoa. So there's another reason to go. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on SJR 9 and we will open public comment, which is our last item on the agenda. The number is 888-475-4499 and the meeting ID is 820-1671-2828. Seeing no one here in Carson City and seeing no one in Las Vegas for public comment, AVH will open up the phone lines.
If you would like to testify, if you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers to provide public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. That was an hour and 7 minutes today. So great job, committee members. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, May 6th at 4 p.m. And seeing no further business before us, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.